This video contains spoilers for School Live. School Live is a slice of life anime about cute girls doing cute things. Okay, maybe it's not that cute. Still, it's not inherently wrong to call the show a slice of life, as the show revolves around the daily lives of high school girls and their struggles with surviving the zombie apocalypse. It ticks all the boxes of your typical slice of life series. Central club that all cast members are a part of? Check. Characters ranging from the overly optimistic to the cold but kind-hearted types? Check. Fun club activities such as eating meals together, trials of courage, and murdering zombies with your friends? Check. Okay, maybe not that last one. On paper, the show seems to just be what if cute girls in zombie apocalypse, and to be honest, I went in expecting nothing more than just that initial premise. But the more I watched it, the more I realized that it's so much more than just a subversion of genre tropes, but a character study on someone who has been so broken by the world around her yet manages to stay alive by living a lie. Enter Yuki Takeya, our main protagonist. She's a cheerful, energetic, and overly optimistic girl who's a part of the school living club with her friends Kurumi, Yuri, Miki, Megumi-sensei, and their pet dog, Tarumaru. Collectively, they try their best to survive the zombie onslaught that plagues the school they're trapped in on a daily basis. Everybody except Yuki, that is. She believes the world around her is completely normal and treats the club's excursions to retrieve materials or fortify the school as everyday high school club activities. Her delusion is what makes the show become this eerie mix of slice of life and horror, as the horrifying reality of the world they live in is paralleled by Yuki's view of an idealized reality where nothing goes wrong. However, it's Yuki's delusion that is the most integral part of the club's survival. She represents hope in an otherwise hopeless world and keeps their morale just high enough to keep pushing forward. This poses an interesting question, however. That being, is it morally okay to let someone deny the world around them just to preserve your own happiness? And well, the answer is complicated, to say the least. For starters, they're not just letting Yuki stay delusional to keep their own sanity in check, but to let Yuki preserve her own happiness as well. While she's rejecting the world around her, she's the only one in the club who is truly living instead of just merely surviving. She looks forward to each passing day and is the only glimmer of optimism in this overwhelmingly pessimistic world. Her optimism also serves to be her greatest weakness, however, as this leads to her having over-reliance in her friends and almost zero awareness of the danger that lies beyond this facade she constructed for herself. This weakness is most present in the form of another character, Megumi-sensei. Throughout the show, we see that Yuki has a very special relationship with Megumi and relies on her for many things, and seems to be the only girl in the club that has confidence in Megumi's abilities. Later, we find out the cold hard truth. That being, Megumi-sensei's actually been dead this entire time, and Yuki was only hallucinating her existence. The girls let Yuki believe Megumi was alive this entire time in order to not break her mental state further. But is this the right thing to do? Everybody copes with loss differently, but is letting someone deny the death of a loved one entirely the healthiest way for someone to cope? For Yuki, Megumi's death is what sparked her delusion in the world around her, the only person she could truly look up to and find comfort in, up and disappeared from her life completely. In theory, making her realize Megumi is dead would snap her from this delusion, and to many people I'm sure, accepting reality is the healthy option. But we see Yuki come to realize this fact in the show. She understands that Megumi is dead, and that the world around her is in an awful state. And even after having her eyes open to the cruel nature of this new world, she chooses to revert back to her delusions. And for that, can we really say she's doing something wrong? If living a lie helps you cope with the truths of the world, is that really a bad thing? Yuki Takeya is an extremely interesting protagonist as she essentially lives in a different world from the rest of the characters. She's created her own truth that helps her live, and as evident in the show, it works. She can experience happiness and fun in this bleak world, uplift those around her, and make the most out of each day. It's a delusion by choice, where she can open her eyes when necessary but live comfortably in her ideal reality whenever possible. School Live surprised me with this extremely heavy deep dive into the mentality of broken characters. It's not just looking to play on expectations, but to use these subversions to create a narrative about girls living in polar opposite worlds. One is bright and fun. The other is cold and bleak. There's upsides and downsides to living in both, and it's up to the characters to decide which road they'd like to accept. Now I know later on in the manga, Yuki slowly tries to break herself free from this delusion, but she still retains her unyielding optimism and love for others. But this delusion of hope she created for herself is precisely what keeps her alive. Essentially, the morality of living a lie lies not within the characters, but with the viewers themselves. Would you prefer to live in a never-ending nightmare where the truths of the world could be too much to bear? Or would you rather live in a realm of idealized happiness, regardless of whether or not it's real? School Live, in essence, is a story about a girl suffering from psychosis. While in the real world and everyday life, this would likely be a detriment to live with, in a world like School Lives, it serves as the only escape from a harsh reality. Everybody seeks happiness in life, and who are we to say happiness can't be found through lies? Now, personally, I'm a believer that reality should be accepted at some point, but I don't find Yuki's way of living in the show to be a negative. It's her way of coping, and is a primary defense mechanism to the trauma the world has thrown her way. To be optimistic in a world with no hope is one of the bravest things anybody can do, and it makes sense why the show follows her. School Live is less about girls surviving a zombie apocalypse, and more about how people deal with trauma. All the girls confront the issues head-on, yet are miserable while doing so, while Yuki rejects the truth, yet is happier this way. To me, the idea of accepting or rejecting reality is an interesting concept that has been tackled across many video games and movies I love. But what makes School Live's approach to this extremely unique is that Yuki gets to walk a fine line between both, choosing to enter reality when necessary, then retreating back to her comfort zone. Yuki might be living a lie, but in her case, living a false life is better than just simply surviving. If you guys liked what you heard, please consider giving the video a thumbs up and subscribing if you haven't already. I love talking about shows and topics that interest me, and I'm gonna start picking up the frequency that I start making these videos. So yeah, thank you guys for listening, watch School Live, and praise Yuki.